Okay everyone, so let's go and let's make some final adjustments to our diffuse. So in this part of the video we'll be mostly looking at our diffuse and we'll try to look for any kind of inconsistencies that we have. For instance, we'll try to adjust the strength of the layers, their brightness, their hue, and so on. We'll also look at the size of the details and we'll try to make everything match. Okay, so first I think I'll go and try to make this painted metal slightly darker. So I'll go and select this layer. Now I'll go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, Brightness Contrast, okay, and now I'll simply go and make it a bit brighter, like this. Right, and now, making this layer brighter, also reduce the strength of the layer above it. So right now we have less of those low frequency values, and I think that's actually a good thing, because previously they were a bit too strong. Now, maybe let's go and let's do the same thing with the lightning group, because I think those low frequency values are also too strong. So I'll go and drop down the opacity of this whole group down to maybe 80. Okay, that should do it. And now, as you can see, our AO is a lot weaker, and that makes our texture look a bit sharper. Now, next, I'm not too happy with the brightness of those screws, and especially this area here where they are completely red and they seem to blend with this metal trim. So I'll go to our normal PSD file, and I'll simply go and copy this screw layer that we had made before. Okay, so now I'll go and paste it above the paint red group. Okay. Right, now I'll simply zoom in, and I'll use the arrow keys to adjust them into place. I'll try to make them match the screws in the AO perfectly. Right, so now we have to go and change their color. So I'll go and right-click on this layer, go to Blending Options, and I'll simply select Color Overlay. And now here, we can simply go and change the color to maybe some kind of dark, or maybe light gray. Okay, that should do it. And now I'll quickly go and rename this layer to Screws and Rivets. Okay. And now maybe let's go and let's tweak this red paint a bit, because I think it stands out a bit too much compared to the rest of the elements we have. So maybe I'll go and tweak its blending mode a bit. So I'll go and select it, and I'll go and change it to Pin Light. Okay, and now I'll go and increase the opacity up to 100%. And now, as you can see, this blending mode uncovers quite a lot of detail underneath this red strip, and it also seems to work here quite well. Now I'll simply go and tweak the color a bit. So go to Image, Brightness and Contrast. And I'll simply drop down the brightness a bit. Okay, that seems to work. But yeah, the color is a bit too strong, so I think I will go and adjust its hue and saturation. And I'll drop down the saturation a bit, and then maybe make this strip a bit more orange. Alright, now let's have a look. And yeah, we still have some minor issues in terms of the style. I'm not very happy with how noisy this red paint is, so we'll have to go and try to reduce that. I'll go and select the mask. Now I'll go to Filter, Noise, Reduce Noise. And here in this window we can basically move this slider around to reduce the noisiness of this mask. So I think I'll maybe go with 5. Okay. And as you can see, we've got less noise, but right now our mask is a bit blurry. So we'll have to change that, and we'll basically try to sharpen it. So I'll go to Sharpen, Smart Sharpen, and here I'll basically try to play around with those settings. So I will maybe play around with the radius and amount, and I'll simply try to find something that will make it look a bit chunky, and something that will make it look similar to the stripped off gray paint. Okay, so this seems to work. Okay, and now as you can see, the damage on this red paint is now much larger. And in terms of its size, it seems to fit with the rest of the texture a bit better. But now, maybe let's also go and let's add some finer details to this mask once more. So I'll quickly go and select the Scratches brush, and now I'll simply go and paint the mask very quickly and randomly. I'll press X to switch the colors, and I'll go lower the opacity of this brush. And now I'll simply go and make some very quick and random strokes here and there, like this. And I'll do the same here as well, just make a few very quick stamps. And I'll go to Filter, Sharpen, and Sharpen. Okay, so this red strip is done. Well, this is something that we could have done before. I generally prefer to make those kind of adjustments at the very end, because right now we can have a look at all of our details and we can see how they fit together. Now, I'll also do the same thing with the rust. So I'll go to this whole photo overlay group and I'll simply make a mask for it. Now I'll go and choose a different brush. I'll use this one. Okay, and I'll simply go and I'll start painting away those details. Let me adjust the opacity first. I'll increase it. Okay, and now I'll simply try to make this rusted bottom much thinner. Basically, I'll try to make it look very, very sharp and chunky, and I'll try to remove all those noisy bits. So in general, I'm just trying to achieve a consistent look across our whole texture. Now this might take quite a while, so I'll skip ahead and I'll show you the finished result. Okay, so here's our finished mask, and as you can see, I basically tried to remove a lot of rust from our texture. Previously the rust was a bit too big and too strong for my taste, so I feel that removing it has a positive impact on how our texture looks like. Another issue we have right now is that some parts of our texture are way too clean compared to the others, like this rust and this damaged paint. So now we'll have to go and we have to add some further photo overlays, and as you can see I've got some here, and basically try to collect some that are very noisy and ones that have very sharp details, dirt and so on. So now I think I'll go and copy this one, and I'll simply go and paste it onto our diffuse. Okay, and I'll simply go and drag it around, and I'll try to find some interesting shapes. Now I'll go to Filter, Sharpen, Sharpen. Okay, and now I'll go to Blending Options, and I'll simply try to adjust those sliders to uncover some very, very noisy and tiny details. So I'll increase the fall off. Okay, now I'll try Underlay Layer, and this will basically uncover the details depending on the color information of the layers below. Okay. Now I'll go and change the opacity down. Okay, now let's choose Color Burn, and maybe let's drop it further. Yeah, that should do it. Alright, and now I'll maybe move this layer slightly a bit to this side to make it look like the dirt is gathering around the corners of the door. Alright, and now I'll simply go and pick another photo reference. So I'll use this one, copy it, and I'll paste it onto our diffuse. Alright, now I'll go and I'll sharpen this layer, then go to Blending Options, and I'll simply go and adjust those sliders. And here we've got some interesting information, so it looks kind of like dust. So I'll make the fall off really soft. And yeah, that seems to work, so maybe let's increase the fall off some more. Alright. Let's adjust the darker tones. And this will put the dirt only in the middle of the glass. And now I'll simply go and drop the opacity down to something like 24. Alright, that should do it. And now as you can see, when I zoom in, we can see some very subtle dirt going on. Okay, so now that you get the basic idea, I'll skip ahead and I'll add 2 more photo overlays. And basically I'll just try to add some noisy details using the Blend Diff tool to create a mask. Okay, so here is the finished result, and as you can see I kept the effect fairly subtle. Now before we finish, I'll go and maybe adjust the opacity of this whole group. So I'll go and reduce it maybe to something like this, like 85. And now when I go and zoom in, you can see how this whole group affects our texture. So as you can see, we've got some very noisy detail going on. And basically adding those kind of photo overlays is a very good way to tie everything together and to make sure that all parts of our texture follow the same style. Okay, so now let's apply a very final tweak. So I'll go and select all those layers, except for the blockout. Okay, then I'll go to Layer, Duplicate Layers, and I'll simply go and merge them together. And now we'll simply go into sharpen the whole texture. So I'll go to Smart Sharpen, and here I'll simply drop down the amount and then adjust the radius down to 1. Alright, and now I think I'll go and adjust the amount some more. And I think I'll go with a low value, maybe something like this. Okay, so now let's save this. And that's pretty much it, that's our finished texture. Alright, so to summarize, as you can see, making those final adjustments can make a big impact on the way your texture looks. So generally spending some time after you finish the texture to make some tweaks and adjustments is a part of my process. And generally I kind of try to work in iterations, where I start with something rough and I slowly develop it over time. Okay, so now I'll go and quickly rename this layer, so I'll go and call it Diffuse Sharpened. Alright. And now, let's go and let's preview the final result in nDo. So here's our diffuse, and as you can see, it is still lacking something. Right now it looks very, very dull, and basically we'll have to add some specular highlights to it by creating a specular map. So we're going to do that very, very soon, but first we'll have to go in and add some further details to our normal map. I'll show you how you can modify your diffuse and then pass it through nDo to create some details for those areas covered in rust and those that have chipped paint and so on. And we're going to do all of that in a second.